Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's no doubt that we all want better roads, and we want a government that sets the highest standard for efficient and effective use of our tax dollars. The question is then how to approach some reforms at Caltrans to achieve both goals. SBX1-9 takes a small but important step toward helping Caltrans realize a more efficient use of tax dollars while also freeing up extra funding for needed road repair. Consider that Californians pay already the fourth highest tax for gas tax in the nation, yet study after study that we've been able to find shows that our road conditions rank near the bottom. I come to you as a certified public accountant, and when you start looking at data that says they're paying the highest and receiving the lowest, that would mean that some analysis should be done to see where we can make improvements. This and other available data that we've been able to find indicates a very clear and pressing need for oversight, which you've already discussed, and reform at the California Department of Transportation. We as a legislature must exercise our oversight role of state government. And SBX1-9 starts that process by requiring Caltrans to gain greater efficiencies in its infrastructure planning and to shift resources to where they are needed most, on road repair. This bill is simple. First, it provides the use of one-time non-recurring funds to support permanent ongoing state positions within Caltrans. Second, this bill requires Caltrans to incrementally increase contracting for architectural and engineering services over the next 8 years, moving from the current 10% of contracting work to a 50-50 split between in-house engineers and contractors. Proposition 35, which passed in the year 2000, permits outsourcing through contracting of architectural and engineering work. This gradual approach to a 50-50 split will allow Caltrans to gain greater flexibility in its resource allocation. And cost savings accomplished through shifting of civil service positions will take place through attrition of current staff through the anticipated retirement rate over the next 8 years. Currently, Caltrans staff, 54% are near retirement age. This system helps Caltrans adjust its engineering capacities to reflect funding at hand, rather than find themselves in a situation where valuable dollars are being diverted from road repair in order to pay for an overstaffing situation at their planning department. Also, please note that this legislation does not deal with how these contracts are bid. According to Caltrans regulations on their own contracting policy, there are several stages of qualifying contracts, and if Caltrans is following the process, then there are negotiations and the cost should be held to reasonable levels. If Caltrans is issuing no-bid contracts, then that's another problem, and frankly, an even bigger problem than this bill addresses, and I would be happy to co-author a bill with any one of the members of this committee that requires Caltrans to use a more competitive bidding process. I bring that up as we've received a letter from the Engineers Union. But what this bill does is begin a process of reform at Caltrans. As we've dug through the data, we found alarming problems that speak to the need for fundamental reform. Consider that California spends $501,136 per state mile, or 3 times the national average. Yet California's roads are in the nation's bottom 10 percentile. Caltrans appears to be overstaffed, and according to a recent LAO report, Legislative Analyst Office report, last year stated that capital outlay support program is overstaffed by not 35 employees, not 350 employees, but 3,500 employees, costing the state $500 million a year. The same report found that 60% of capital outlay projects sampled overestimated staffing needs by more than 25%. And colleagues, the Legislative Analyst Office is available today to answer questions and would like to have them available. Last week, the San Diego Union Tribune editorial board noted that this report should be acted on, not ignored. Caltrans disputes this LAO report and says that they have made cuts to their positions by 26% since 2007-8, and there is nowhere else to cut. Yet, when looking at the budget, we find that those numbers represent over 1,700 vacant positions. We're not talking about cutting employees. We're talking about eliminating positions, and are not truly reflective of the costs of senior staff that don't get cut. In fact, one major problem, yet another indicator that reform is needed at Caltrans, is that neither Caltrans nor the public employee unions that serve Caltrans have been able to produce consistent data on their staffing and costs. According to the 2011 State Auditor Report, Caltrans has done little analysis to determine the frequency or magnitude of support cost budget overruns. Further, although all opportunities exist to inform stakeholders to the extent of these overruns, Caltrans has not done so, limiting valuable information on the efficiency and effectiveness of the support program, close quote. The average salary of a Caltrans engineer ranges, according to Caltrans, is between $138,664 to $168,475 in 2007. But the head of the Professional Engineers in California Government Labor Union stated in a letter to my office that the average cost of a Caltrans engineer is $124,000. However, the head of the union claimed in a letter to the Orange County Register this week that the actual cost is $116,000. In 2011, the Senate Budget Committee estimated that the Capital Outlay Support Program engineering staff cost $158,000. But what does that really include? Overtime, pension costs? Caltrans has made the claim that private contractors cost more than in-house engineers. Is it possible the short-term costs of an in-house engineer versus his contracted or her contracted cohort are nearly the same or more? That's what studies have proven. But expertise is one area where it especially makes sense to have a contractor. You don't need someone with a high sophistication like aerial work on staff, so you hire it out. But they may cost more for a specific project, but when the project is done, then they're no longer on the state payroll. We don't have to pay a really high caliber individual just to alphabetize files when there's no workload. So I'm reminded of a story when I was treasurer of the County of Orange, where there was some problems with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and one of their representatives said, "We're twin sisters, and you can't call your sister ugly." So it's no fun to bring up negative things about the organization that you represent in the legislature, but you definitely want to make some improvements. And I feel as a new legislator that I am part of an oversight body that should provide some solutions to a system and a department that report after report indicates that Senator Bell's desire to improve efficiencies is not only a great idea, it's actually mandatory. And so this bill is something that will offer that. As the legislative body, we are the oversight body of Caltrans, and we must implement better management tools in order to get more funding to our roads. The legislature needs to improve Caltrans. I think Caltrans needs more transparent metrics and better measurements, something that this legislature and the public can understand and use for proper oversight. Caltrans needs to outsource more in order to be more nimble. Succession planning allows for a change in hiring policies, and this bill communicates that the legislature, the governor, and Caltrans, that we're all focused on respecting the tax dollars should a tax increase occur that we are imposing on everyone, the poor as well as the rich, that they're going to get the best bang for their dollar, that it'll be transparent, accountable, and adaptable for an organization worthy of the trust of the taxpayers. And I want to thank you for this opportunity to present my bill.
Thank you, Senator.